Welcome to Previously on X-Men, the podcast that looks at X-Men comics, movies, shows, characters, and more. I'm Hilary.
And I'm Eric.
And we're here once again to talk about the next episode of the X-Men animated series.
Wow.
Proteus Parts 1 and 2. We got another two-parter.
I thought it was pronounced Proteus.
Did you? Did you think that?
No. Hey, when you first got into X-Men because of the cartoon, so you never had the issue. But when I was first reading X-Men comics, I didn't know if it was Magneto or Magneto.
I feel like I've heard that from people before.
Yeah.
Magneto.
But it's Magneto.
Magneto, which is objectively cooler.
Yeah, but that's not how you don't pronounce it. Oh, is that a magnet?
Yeah, I guess if you really were going to go for it, it would be Magneto.
Yeah.
Right? Because you say magnet, not magnet.
Yeah. All right.
Although you say magnetic. We need to get into this.
Magneto's not in this episode.
It's unrelated, completely unrelated situation.
He's
Proteus is in this episode.
Yeah, Magneto's not even in one of the 800 flashbacks that are in these two episodes.
There's so many flashbacks. Holy crap. Okay, so the first starts with Muir Island with Moira and Sean, whose name I always think is Seamus, but is Sean. Sean Cassidy. And I don't know why. I mean, just because Scotland.
Banshee, a.k.a. Seamus Cassidy.
Seamus, wouldn't that work though?
Yeah, you're right. All right.
Don't make fun of me. That makes sense.
I had to say it out loud, but it did make sense, yeah.
Yeah, see, now. Trust me. Okay, anyway, so Seamus, no, dang it. Moira and Sean are on Muir Island, and they're doing some sort of experimenty thing involving lasers. And inside this cell is a mutant.
Yes.
And he's got a exoskeleton-y vibe, like a energy situation happening, and they zap him with something and it goes away and he sort of compacts down into a boy.
He's a boy.
He's just a boy. And they're like, oh, the treatment is working. Hooray. But then he bursts through the wall. I guess sort of as things were kind of dying down. He bursts through the wall and then he's just a boy. But then he starts to
just a boy.
I'm just a boy. He starts to spark again or whatever and then goes full energy being again. And they're like, no, Kevin, which is a funny name for an energy being. And they try to get him to calm down. They're like, no, we've figured it out. It's going to work. And he's like, no, I need to know the world outside. And he possesses Banshee. And then sort of distantly attacks Moira. She's fine, but he pushes her or whatever. And then he goes away and disappears. And then I think that's it, right? That's a da-da-da kind of thing.
The hot opening, more like it.
The hot opening, yeah.
Yeah. On Muir Island, we also see Morph on a little gurney or something because he's still getting work done.
How do you see these things? I didn't see that.
It just pans past him. He's there as a background thing.
Oh, you catch all of it.
Yeah, so in the comics, Proteus, if he possesses you, that's bad news because he he burns out the body. It basically, when he leaves a body, it's because it's burnt out because of how much power he has. So that means he basically kills the people he possesses, but that's not an issue here.
Yeah, it's not so much they talk about him draining their energy, but he basically just keeps bouncing around to people and they're just fine.
Yeah, they're
tired.
Comas it's not a big deal. And Moira asks Xavier for help, and then Xavier has one of his many flashbacks.
Yes. This is it feels like, I don't think it actually is, but it feels like flashbacks within flashbacks. It feels like we just keep, and here, and here, and here.
Well, that's because we get the new scenes that we haven't seen before, where we see Moira and him were a couple, and then he goes off to the military, and she sends him a Dear John while he's at war.
She mails him that diamond ring and is like, sorry, I fell in love.
He gets that while he's over there. She met somebody else, and she's getting married. And then it just becomes a continuation of flashbacks that we have seen before of Charles's life. So we see Amelia from the Sanctuary episode and all that. and him forming the X-Men.
Was it new that we see her leaving him because he started the X-Men? Or had we seen that before?
The Amelia stuff was in the Sanctuary episode.
Okay. Well, I think basically we're just getting like flashbacks to build up their emotional connection, like all the layers of Xavier and Moira.
Because Moira is
and their feelings.
Divorced because her husband, will find out, is kind of a jerk.
Kind of a jerk. Yeah, the guy she married while Xavier was at war.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, if you got to move on, I respect it. You got to move on. But I feel like if you get engaged to a soldier and then he goes to war, just wait until he gets back, and then tell him, and then get married to someone else.
Oh, boy.
This is all I'm saying.
The voice of Proteus is a Stuart Stone. Probably a young Stuart Stone at this time, I imagine. That's
a familiar name to me. Is that a person?
He did some episodes of the Mario Brothers cartoons. He was in an episode of Beetlejuice. He was Ralphie in the Magic School Bus show for 52 episodes.
Ralphie!
Yeah. He was also
that's fun.
He was Kenny Bear in The Busy World of Richard Scarry.
Oh wow, so he's got like the kid voice.
He was in an episode of 90210 at just listed as Kid.
So this is his lot in life.
Well, no, he was in the 2001 movie as
Space Odyssey.
No, he was Ronald Fisher in the 2001 movie Donnie Darko. So,
I have not seen that.
Oh, he was also in the movie Joyride.
No, he's doing all right.
Yeah, I guess. He was also in Mutant X as the character Einstein.
Really?
Yeah.
How interesting. Okay, so he's got some chops.
He was in a video game called Palace Pets App, and his character was Sundrop.
Sundrop. I bet Sundrop's adorable.
All right. Well, he's a Canadian actor, so.
Okay. All right. He did okay. I feel like he's playing a teenage boy who's constantly emotionally wrought. And
so a teenage boy.
Yeah.
Got him.
But he manages to do it without like the whine that you kind of get a lot of in this kind of voice acting. So I thought he did all right.
So Xavier takes Beast, Rogue, and Wolverine to go help Moira. And we just keep getting flashbacks. So we also get flashbacks to him going to Muir Island when he was having all those the visions of Lalandra. And
we get flashbacks that aren't like originally flashbacks. Like we get flashbacks to actual scenes from earlier in the series.
So it's just a parade of flashbacks. Rogue is super fiery.
Yeah, she is. Did you think, because Proteus possesses Sean, and then it cuts, and then the next thing you see is Moira calling them and being like, come here, I need your help. Did you have any thought? I thought that this was Proteus possessing her and trying to get people to come to the island so he could take them over.
I did not think that.
I 100% was like, this is definitely what is happening. And then it just never panned out. And I was like, okay, I'll just drop that.
Proteus gets to mainland. He gets on a boat and he gets to the mainland of Scotland. And we see his little energy form, which is pretty dumb looking in the cartoon. I hate it.
Is it different substantially from the comics? I don't think I've seen him in the comics.
Yeah, he's just kind of like an energy thing. He's a lot less sympathetic in the comics.
It sort of seems like he has a body in the cartoon. Yeah. Like he can make himself, but he can't contain his power or something. But isn't it in the comics that he needs to take over people's bodies because he doesn't have anything?
Right, he takes over bodies, but like I said, he burns them out, and so they end up dead. They end up just husks. It's a pretty, it's a darker story than the boy just wants his dad to love him.
He just wants his dad to love him, man.
But we find out Proteus is nice because there's that scene where Proteus stops the kid from being bullied, and then he gets sad.
Yeah, I think you get kind of a weird feel that he's been like extremely isolated and is sort of like learning about the human experience like while we're watching. So yeah, when there's a kid being chased by bullies and he like takes over the kid, but also it was like, no, I'm helping him, and like scares the bullies away. And then like the dad comes and he's like, what is this? Why does this man care about this child?
It's his father. He loves his son. Where's my son?
Why?
Everything he says is heightened, and it's all internal monologue. So he's just screaming to himself in his head.
Yeah, which is, I feel like it's sad because a lot of the time he's sort of trying, like when people are reacting to him being all scary, you hear him be like, I'm just trying to find my dad. And it's like, they can't hear you. They can't understand.
We find out that his dad is a Joe McTaggart who is running for jerk. What is he running for again?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It seems like it's got to be like more than just local, but it's something in Scotland. I don't know. Do they have a parliament?
So he's running for government, and his platform is how he's like a traditional
family values
and everything. So he has to keep it hidden that he's divorced, and he has a son because Moira calls him, is like, Kevin's out, and he's like, well, put him back.
Yeah.
And Proteus shows up at one of his things, and Joe is all like, wait, you're my son? So I guess he didn't know the full story of Kevin.
Yeah, well, he says to one of his lackeys at one point, he says that he didn't see him since he's been crawling around. So, like,
right.
I think they must have known pretty early that he was a mutant, but I don't think he really saw the extent of it.
The guy who's working for Joseph McTaggart, is that a traditional Scottish government?
I don't know. I kept waiting for him to like turn out to be a wizard or something.
I know. I don't know enough about 90s Scottish fashion. Especially like, governmental fashion.
I mean, yeah, maybe that's just how people dressed in government. But like you see him, what's his name? Joe has these regular lackeys, but then later you see him sort of having this secretive sounding conversation with this guy who has like a cane and like a long jacket and all this stuff. And I was positive that he was going to be like evil or something, but he's just nothing. He was going to
working for him, and turns out he's Mr. Sinister, who just decided he's into Scottish politics now.
He's just been really intricately involved in all the layers of Scottish politics.
It's because he got confused. Right. He thought it was getting into Scottish Summers politics.
Because of the Scott part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, I've made a mistake.
I've made it, but I'm invested now, and it matters.
I'm too far into the traditional family government politics.
Yeah.
Oh, I really wish this had involved Scott Summers in some way.
He'll find a way. He'll bring him in somehow.
Wonderful. Oh, they brought everybody but Scott. Rogue, what am I going to do with her bloodline?
Oh, my word.
So, one of the powers of Proteus is that he can basically control reality. He can transform it. He can manipulate it. He can do whatever he wants with reality. So, when the X-Men show up, he's, messing with reality and causing a ruckus for them. And he basically twists Wolverine all about and everything.
Yeah. Everybody else sort of gets a treatment like he makes people sink into the ground, or like a tree attacks them or whatever. But yeah, Wolverine, he's like morphing Wolverine's body.
Like he's liquid and all this, like a lava lamp. And, he's put back together, and it's like, as soon as he is, Wolverine starts crying.
Yeah, it's like this was a horrible ordeal for him.
I don't think it's ever explained in the comics. I mean, in the cartoon, why that's such an issue. It's like you just have to put it together. But it's because his senses are so much stronger than everybody else's that when he gets twisted like that, it's just, even more so for him. Like,
oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, to have reality manipulated on him directly in such a severe way, for somebody who's so grounded in his five senses, it really just messes him up. And then in the comics, he's very gun shy. We'll talk about that in the second episode.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
So, how does this episode end? Just ends with Proteus leaving?
Oh, we find out finally because Moira acts really cagey and weird about it this entire
Right.
time, and like I don't know who his
About-
father is, and I don't know.
Yeah.
But then at the very, very end of this episode,
The 70s were a bit of a blur for me.
I don't know what happened. Turns out he's Moira's son.
Right.
And we'd already sort of figured out that he's this Joe. What is his name? Joe.
Joe
He's
McTaggart.
Joe's son.
Yep.
So Joe and Moira were married. Joe left. And that's the to be continued because like
Right.
Proteus like does all the crazy grossness with Wolverine and everybody, and then he just like takes off. And that's the end.
Yeah. Rogue is here to be... I don't really know. Like, Rogue doesn't really have much of a story here. I guess she's just here to play off Wolverine, I guess, because in the second episode, Wolverine loses his edge and Rogue is already pretty tough. So I guess who's the toughest person on the X-Men that would be able to call Wolverine out for losing his edge? And I guess Rogue's the only other choice. Yeah,
that makes sense. I think we also get a little more about like why you would put her in it in the second episode, because we have her getting increasingly upset with how Joe is treating Kevin and how he's like this deadbeat dad guy. And then she has like, you know, her own issues with that. So I think there's that kind of thing. I think they like using her as kind of like a caring woman figure because like she'll just keep getting in Kevin's way and being like, come on, calm down, listen to your mom and stuff. And
That's
so
true.
I think they tried to bring in people who were very like her and Beast and Xavier, just people who will try to be like, okay, we're all okay.
Well, Rogue lets you have the person who's like, come on, Kevin, we want to just take you home, but also to Wolverine, like, what snake crawled up your bonnet?
Yeah.
So, next episode.
It starts basically at the exact place, like where they had left off, where Proteus has run off, and now Xavier is like, okay, so here's what we're going to do. And this episode does a lot more than I think they have been doing recently with like emotion and characters balancing off each other. Because like you said with Rogue and Wolverine, and then there's a lot of stuff going on with Moira and Xavier. And I like how this one starts.
Well, because when they deal with Proteus again, Wolverine runs in and he's like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And Rogue calls him out and says, where were you during all that? You ran away or something? He's like, I don't run from anything, cowpone.
Well, it's interesting because she's not used to him not just like, I don't think she's trying to be hurtful. She's just, she's like, you're the guy who's just there and like jumps in and does stuff, and you didn't. That's weird. What were you doing?
Yeah. There's a lot more flashbacks in this episode again.
Yes, gotta have the flashbacks.
So
I liked at the very beginning, Xavier, when he's like talking them through what they have to do, and he's like, so I guess we're gonna have to protect Joe.
Yeah.
And he's just sort of like, I don't like this man, but he shouldn't die, I guess. So
And him and Moira have an argument during these two episodes about how like Xavier, like he's sad about it, but it seems like he's moved on enough that now he does just want to be a friend, but she doesn't seem to understand that since, I don't know, that he can care for her as much as he does while still being friends, because he does say like, you've never understood my feelings for you or something.
Yeah. Well, I wonder, because like when you have what's her face who Xavier was with and she left him when he was building the X-Men, I think you sort of have a theme of him being really hyper focused on his passion of the moment and kind of ignoring his significant other. And that's sort of where I got that was going, where like I've always loved you and I've always cared about you and wanted to take care of you, and you never recognized that. And it's because he didn't, act that way.
I have to go fight in this generic
on something
war.
Else. Yeah. Yes. Then you were all interested in your war.
Man, I'll tell you though, halfway through this second episode, like I paused and I was like, we're only halfway through. I'm ready to be done.
That's funny. I actually really enjoyed this one.
Okay. Well, so one of the issues I have with the translation from page to screen with this is in the comics, Wolverine is similar. He's very gun shy. He's just out of it. And the other X-Men are still kind of like, oh boy, that was rough. And there was a big morale problem. And so Cyclops went over and just smacked the coffee out of Wolverine's hand and picked a fight with him and got Wolverine, up in his face and everything. And then Cyclops took out the X-Men in a big thing. And then he's like, congratulations, this was an impromptu Danger Room session. And it was Cyclops knowing that Wolverine needed to be broken out of that at that time. And in this, Wolverine just kind of realizes it himself, which, I mean, story-wise also has value. I just don't think I don't know. I don't think it's as good as... It's a Cyclops moment that's really cool. And in this, it could be a Wolverine moment that's cool if we see him overcome it. But instead, he runs, and then he comes back. So...
Yeah, that's true. And like you sort of miss the interpersonal element because like the whole thing with X-Men is that, the relationships and how we all, and that having Cyclops see what needed to happen and do the thing and that is missing in this. So
Joe McTaggart, he's kind of he's at another political event and he's kind of presenting the first episode's attack, well, not even attack, just Proteus showing up. As he's presenting it as an attack, and like like
his opponent.
My opponents, wanted me to be running and hiding, and he does that like, I'm thankful to be here. I'm thankful to be anywhere.
Yeah, and he gets like a really big laugh.
Yeah. Take my son, please. He's a mutant, and he's really hurting my campaign.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that at all.
So pretty similar Proteus fight again with the X-Men as we got in the first episode, except Wolverine comes back. They save him and they stop him and he turns into a boy, and then Joseph's like, it's my son. Oh, I've been a fool.
Yeah. He seems to pretty strongly turn around and be cool with him. He carries him away.
Yeah.
That he was 16-year-old. No, I think 17. I think she said he was 17 years old. Yeah. And at the end of it, Joe picks him up and cradles him and carries him out of the room.
He's a very small 17-year-old. He's a late bloomer.
He didn't seem exhausted or I didn't know what was going on. All of a sudden he was just carrying him. But anyway, I thought there was a weird missed opportunity type moment because the whole time Xavier keeps popping in and being like, no, I'm going to talk you through this. Let's talk. And it never works. And then when Wolverine finally forces himself to come, he jumps in there and he's like, okay, you didn't want to talk to Xavier. Maybe you want to talk to me. And I sort of was like, well, wouldn't that actually be interesting if he was really afraid and then he forced himself to stand up to this moment, and maybe he, his tough love type, really could get through to this teenage boy or something. But that didn't really seem to. They just were and then he fought him, I guess, and then
there would have been nice moments where if they're going for this happy ending for Proteus story that the show's going for, as opposed to the comics where Colossus kills him. I do feel like you miss out, maybe a Wolverine thing, or Xavier being the one to talk him down, even though he's not his dad.
Well, he did though. He did. He got him. He had him. Xavier had Proteus possess him to sort of see, so they could sort of talk, I guess, on neutral ground. And then in the end, he fades into a boy again, and he's hugging him. I thought that was really cute.
Yeah, but then the moment where Xavier has to be but he's also not my son, and then has to leave and be sad. Yeah, and then the episode ends the story was kind of Wolverine's all along, because Rogue says something to him it's okay, we all get shaken now and then, and Wolverine's like, I don't, and then walks away. And the end.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's gonna, again, the question, is that gonna play to any future episodes, or are we...
No, it does not.
What the heck? Stop doing that.
Yeah, if this was the first season, I think we might have another episode where he is still dealing with that. Because how many episodes did we have of him recovering from Sabretooth's attack on the mansion in the first season. But no, it's just, I don't. And, the future episodes, I don't think we ever bring mention of this again. So,
well, that's too bad. We had an interesting early before he came back. I think he was still scaredy cat guy. And when Rogue was poking at him about it, Beast kind of steps in and is like, listen, everybody gets scared sometimes. And Wolverine's like, what do you mean? And there's sort of like this snippy little thing between Wolverine and Beast, which I felt like was really interesting. Like, you don't usually get a lot of that. Like, that's Beast kind of gets his back up a little about it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that I liked about these episodes.
Okay. Did you like this two-parter?
I did. I found myself thinking, like, oh, I'm enjoying this. There's been several recent episodes that I've just been like, okay, and these two I actually did. I liked them. And I think it was just the kind of little character moments that I felt like they went further with them than they have been recently. Like they let Wolverine kind of go through this whole actual kind of PTSD weirdness for 2 whole episodes because it was a 2-parter. And, watching Xavier kind of work through his feelings about Moira and all that stuff. I thought that, I liked it. How about you?
Yeah, I think I've been feeling the same about these 2 episodes as I did past episodes, where it's just kind of like, I wish something about this was serialized. But also, I think as I get older, like, this starts to feel more like a kiddie version of Proteus than...
I can definitely see that.
I really like the comic episode, and I just hate the Proteus design. I mean, I don't think these are bad episodes. They just don't really do much for me.
Yeah. Well, translating something that you enjoy from the comics and like really not doing the thing that you liked about it, that's a rough thing to have to sit through.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like they've done it before and they, work their cartoon continuity in with the story, but they just kind of went, it's just a different story in this thing. But by itself, I mean, I also felt like they had a lot of flashbacks as filler. It felt like if you take out the flashbacks as this one episode,
that's true.
That was kind of the issue I had with the One Man's Worth episodes. Like, if we take out all these other things, is this just one episode?
Yeah. I thought about that too while I was watching it, because it does seem like storyline wise, why is this what they decided to spend 2 episodes on as opposed to other things? I didn't feel like it. I didn't feel that like rushed sometimes, boring sometimes thing that I've been experiencing. Sure. So I don't know. I guess I don't know what was different about it for me, but it didn't feel that strained this time, which is nice because I could use I've been feeling very like I can't watch more of these because,
sure,
but yeah, it was nice to kind of get one that was fun for me.
Well, good. What are the next episodes after this? I don't have my book in front of me and I can't remember.
Well, I don't have it listed because I thought that next time for the next one we could kind of go out of order and do there's a Christmas episode that I thought.
Yes, let's just get that Christmas episode out of the way.
So I think the next thing that we'll talk about is I can't even read this title. Have yourself a merry little Morlock. That doesn't even make sense.
It didn't even go for Xmas.
Have a Morlock little
Why
Christmas.
didn't it go have yourself a very little Xmas?
Oh, that's so good. They had to have thought of it and rolled it out. They had to. But yeah, have yourself a merry... Anyway, that's what we're going to be covering. I'm trying to see what the ones after that are.
Family Ties and
Family Ties.
Yes. So Family Ties is Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, and Bloodlines is a Nightcrawler Mystique story.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. That'll be fun.
We'll see how we feel about that, because I don't remember those episodes fondly. So
yeah, I would have watched them when I didn't have any thoughts at all about Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. So that'll be interesting to see.
But those are next.
Yep, we'll have our Christmas episode and then that one, and then, yeah, go from there. Cool.
Sweet.
Well, thanks for listening to our Proteus episode. Thank you to Prophetic Music for our theme song. Previously on X-Men is brought to you by the Radio Meanwhile Network. Other shows on the network include This Endorian Life, 90s Music Got Me Like, and 9021 Here We Go.
Woo!
Follow us on X or Facebook at Previously on X. We should like that, shouldn't we? Because of the X.
Yeah.
It's just
a bad X.
I hate it. Anyway, please rate, subscribe, or share the show wherever you get your podcasts.
Yay. Bye, everybody.
Woohoo! Bye.